Good morning. How long have I been asleep for?
I feel like shit.
Fiddlefucks! I went into a coma again. Well, time to revive my channel.
Welcome to Dagan Gets Depression again and doesn't upload for 11 months and then he uploads twice for the year. Starring me, Dagan, that one subscription you've had for 2 years and don't know why. Movies. They've always been something I've wanted to get into but just haven't. The idea of sitting down for 2 hours on average doing nothing but paying attention to one thing has always seemed a little impossible.
And before you ask, no, I don't have ADHD, because I was never tested.
But in the middle of the year, while I was in the middle of a depression and ignoring all of my friends and doing fuck all, I was slowly and surely being indoctrinated by the few friends I still talk to into becoming a movie nerd. Now all this is to say, while not watching every Transformers movie, I did see the first few. And yeah, they're bad. They're boring at points, unfunny, racist, and have a good dose of way too much fucking sex. Like, the second movie has 2 dogs doing it in the first 20 minutes. But I would still call them a guilty pleasure. They're either super good looking and fun, or so bad that I'm laughing at the insane.
But why am I saying this? Well, all this is to say that Transformers 1 is the first competent Transformers movie, and it makes me shocked nothing before this has ever reached its standards. Besides Beast Wars, the best one.
Transformers 1 is a movie that was announced in 2017 and only just released, which is a great sign for movies, and it's set as a prequel to the Michael Bay movies, as it takes place in Cybertron. Going into this movie, I was a lot more than skeptical. The trailer for this thing made me and a lot of other people, including die-hard Transformers fans, worried that this was going to be yet another flop in the sea of poorly received attempts to revive a dying 80s toy line and would be a complete and utter failure. And you know, only one of these was true, so we stay winning! Transformers 1, the comedy-centric Transformers movie, with Chris Hemsworth as Optimus Prime, with a very weird character design, directed by the guy whose only other movie direction credit is Toy Story 4. How did this work?
Well, obviously I've already seen the movie and I know my opinion, so without further ado, what do I think of the movie?
It's good, but I have a couple of problems with it that keep it from being great.
Thank you, Transformers 1, for being the first thing on this channel I've wanted to talk about for 11 months to have something to actually talk about.
Transformers 1 stars Chris Hemsworth as Orion Pax and Brian Tyree Henry as D-16, working to become bigger than just junk bots, to rise to ranks and maybe even save Cybertron by finding the magical MacGuffin. I forgot the name and I'm too lazy to figure it out. And on the way they are assisted by Scarlett Johansson as Alita 1 and Keegan-Michael Key as B-127, also known as Badassatron, because if I had to hear Bumblebee call himself Badassatron a million fucking times in this movie, you do too. Something you may notice is this is yet another animated kids movie padded out with a bunch of celebrity voice actors so the parents will want to see it too, because little Timmy sure as hell knows who Keegan-Michael Key is. But overall, I think comparatively to a lot of celebrity kids movies, I think everyone here did well enough. Chris Hemsworth has his Thor voice slipping out occasionally, but I think that's just because he's trying to do an American accent for most of this. Disregarding that, I think he's actually a lot better at Optimus than a lot of people have been saying. Keegan-Michael Key is great, Brian Tyree Henry was great, really only Scarlett Johansson I was a bit iffy on. Her voice was kind of raspy and whiny in the beginning, but I grew to find it okay.
I mean, could have been worse. Could have had Aquafina.
What surprises me more is the lack of a soundtrack. As a music nerd myself, I've come to accept that Ty Dolla $ign wrote a 5-minute kids song where he says 3 things about Transformers right after his biggest hit in years has been a 1-minute freestyle from 10 years ago where he says, I like to get my dick sucked while I'm getting high. But I was even more surprised that that's the only licensed song in the soundtrack. The rest of the movie is just a plain ass movie score. No pop songs, no rap songs. They didn't even get Linkin Park back, even though that would have been funny. Just a very good movie score that actually fits the movie. No more pop songs stopping the movie to have a 3-minute get ready scene, chase scene, badass scene, nothing.
But Chris Hemsworth and Ty Dolla $ign are not the reason you're watching this. Or maybe they are, I don't judge. It's the story. And how does it rack up?
Story in this movie is actually pretty great. Spoiler alert. I enjoy being able to see their take on Cybertron, this kind of lively but sort of run-down place where the government keeps watch and miners without their transforming cogs are forced to mine for Sentinel.
And yes, they say miner in this movie as in someone who mines a lot, and it's never not funny.
You're a miner, Prime! You'll never equate to anything! I can be more than a miner! Orion and D16 really do feel small in this world, and it does make me want to root for them. Orion being this sort of lowly thug is a fun take on it too, and throughout the movie we get a good sense of Orion and D16's motivations. Plus Sentinel being evil was, while not shocking, was set up nicely and pretty maturely too. You could feel the distraught in the characters, and I like how them wanting to prove themselves is just as good as the Transformers is the motivation for the real plot. It's cliche, sure, but they do it in a way to where, yeah, I can feel why they would want to be the heroes. Their jobs fucking suck. They live in a world that is just beating down mercilessly. It's just, I hate the way they try to do it. Like, out of thin air, they randomly announce they're doing a race, the Iacon 5000, and Orion is like, I'm gonna do that race even though I'm not a Transformer, to prove miners are just as good as adults, regular Transformers. Cue the 5-minute action scene with a bunch of racing. It's like, this is so obviously just an attempt to keep the kids entertained. Like, it's fun in the theater, but outside of that context, you're just watching two guys actually running the race. They're not Transformers. Ooh, cars. And yeah, you could argue this is setting up the third act breakup, which luckily is at least played a little differently than most kids' movies. And yes, they do prove themselves to Sentinel even if they lose, which sets up the next scene okay. But this whole scene just feels so long and creatively bankrupt because they don't have any cool visuals. It's just the race except two regular people are there. And some people may argue, ooh, it's fan service though, and I'd like to discredit that argument with, this isn't even how the Iacon 5000 is. The Iacon 5000 is a 500-mile, 50-lap race usually, and in the movie it's just a race. No real transforming needed, no circuit style, just point A, point B, no bullshit fucking race. And I'm only harping on this to point out that there's like a good 30 minutes of filler in this 100-minute movie. Like, I enjoy the story, it's a fun take on the origin, and I think the pacing is pretty good, but my god, is there just scenes that happen. Like, I can accept the intro scene being an exposition dump to useless chase scene because it works in setting up Orion as a character, a lowly thug who wants to be a hero. I'm talking more in like, they get off a train after getting to the surface, and instead of setting up Alita as their boss turned jobless turned teammate and creating a fun bickering dynamic, they just forget that. Cute a 5-minute walking scene about nothing, only to then hide from the Quintessons for no reason, just for them to only be seen one other time in the movie to set up Sentinel as the bad guy. It confuses me because they didn't have to add filler scenes to this movie. I feel like these filler scenes equate to them only getting their transforming powers more than halfway into the movie, and instead of setting up them having to learn how to use this thing they haven't had for decades, they only have one 2-minute long chase scene filled with them joking on how they can't use their powers, only for them to immediately be able to use them. It makes me wonder why they didn't spend more time on this instead of on a pointless walking and sneaking scene with zero stakes, because I don't know who the Quintessons are. In fact, let's talk about them and the other characters, because King transitions, baby. So, the Quintessons in this movie are hyped up as super evil, and we only see them one other time. Why? Why did you have all that exposition and that sneaking scene only to have them appear one more time so that they can have the liar revealed twist villain of Sentinel Prime? I haven't read the old comics or old TV shows, but I'm pretty sure Sentinel isn't evil. But nah, in this he fucking kills all the old primes and is like, I wanna rule everyone. He's like cartoonishly evil, maniacally laughing and shit, when I don't remember this being his thing in Transformers 3. But him being a cartoon villain stereotype is kind of just how the other characters are played too. Like, Optimus Prime, even though I've praised them for setting him up as a lowly street character, isn't really that fleshed out. He's definitely more fleshed out than the rest of the characters, but he mainly just goes from anything to prove he's worth something person to courageous hero. And it sucks because I feel like this movie had such an opportunity to flesh everyone out. D16 just goes from straight man friend to evil guy too, who was betrayed, so now he is evil. Alita is barely even important to this movie besides the last few scenes where she goes from bratty boss to girl boss, who is also the love interest, and Bumblebee is the comic relief. It's not that important. I think this story still works even with these stereotypes, but more fleshing out would have really made me felt for these characters a lot more. Creating a sense of connection would enhance this world and characters as a result. But even though I'm complaining a lot, the story is still good. I enjoyed a lot of the first half with the world building, and I like the parts in the cave where they reveal what happened. They did it in a very mature way that made me feel for the characters more. I'd also say overall the pacing on this movie is so good that I didn't even think of most of this besides the ease of transforming until hours after watching the movie, especially the last 30 minutes. It's got such a good mix of suspense and action cutting between the shots. That part of him falling into the void becoming Optimus Prime hit kinda hard emotionally. It's probably the best part of the movie, and it is especially thanks to the visual. My god, does this movie look good. I don't think it's as good as Spider-Verse, which I think people were only comparing this to because it has chase scenes and train scenes, but you can still feel that 140 million. My god, is that so much money. Everything in this movie has an impact. Everyone looks so alive, but still slightly robotic, which is good for Transformers. While the art style took some getting used to, I honestly kind of love it. I enjoy this take on the Transformers of a more cartoony style after the abundance of edgy, realistic art styles, especially paired with the crisp animations. Some of these scenes have so much sauce, especially in the final fight. Everything has a very good color palette too. The only thing I think is lacking here is the shot composition. I mean, it's fine, it definitely isn't bad, but it's just so bland. There's no shots in my mind that stick out to me, no cool framing or whatever. It's just what's needed, the requirement. Not a lot of creativity there. I also think the world feels a little empty. The only real life forms we see on the surface are robot deer. I feel like there could have been a couple more animals there, but I also understand this could just be a stylistic choice, wanting the world to feel a little barren since not a lot of Transformers are up there. And overall, the visuals still look great. It's such a fun and pleasant looking movie, honestly kind of reminding me of Blue Sky a little bit, which is a good thing. Or maybe it's just because of robots. Either way though, everything and everyone in this movie all just have a design that fits them perfectly. In fact, the visuals on this movie are so good, I wrote a haiku about it. Beautiful, of love, but your humor is mid. This shit looks hard though. Now, I'm not saying that the humor is bad or unwatchable. In fact, there were a fair amount of jokes that I laughed at, even the ones in the trailer, which, side note, that trailer sucked ass. A lot of the jokes in the trailer were better in context or with timing. However, one thing I will not say is that this movie was laugh out loud. Luckily, this movie is an action comedy, so it's not like it's all jokes. In fact, they slow down a good bit in the middle and end, which is very nice and is something Deadpool and Wolverine really needed to do. But those first 35 minutes or so, dude, especially when Bumblebee is introduced, he does not stop talking. I can excuse it a little bit. Him being talkative would make sense, seeing as how he ends up losing his voice box in later versions of Transformers, but he is so unfunny. The only joke he has that is even mildly funny is the badassatron joke, but that's only because he said it like 60 times in the first half of the movie, didn't say it again for like another 50 minutes, and then in the final fight he said it again, which made me hee with a little, that's kind of smart. But I won't forgive them because I almost left to refill my drink during the 40th time of him saying it, and that means that I am unhappy. Besides him though, if you removed his jokes, I'm being unfair, because the other jokes not from him are like 80-20 in funny to not funny ratio. I mean, the first joke in the movie made me laugh, not chuckle, laugh. The humor in this movie isn't original, but it's got such a very good sense of timing, and dare I say, it establishes some of the characters a good bit without stopping the pace of everything. Especially in the first few scenes with Orion and D16, I think they bounce off each other really well, and they have a very unique chemistry together, even if they are stereo. And I found myself laughing a lot more at their jokes because I was just happy. And I think that's how I feel about a lot of this movie. Sure, it's flawed, even as the best Transformers movie. It can be unfunny, scenes feel dragged on or added as filler, and the characters are pretty one note. But this movie just has so much charm, man. Through the dialogue, which never feels poorly written, to the amazing visuals, the jokes that did land have me still remembering them. It's just so nice. This movie has a huge soul that just makes me so happy to be watching it. And that's why Transformers 1 is a 7 out of 10. It's not some crazy, amazing, life-changing movie, but it's not trying to be. It's a funny, action-packed kids movie working to rebuild the reputation of the franchise, and I think they did that pretty great as their first try.
But that's it. A bit of a shorter video this time because I want to come back, working on a couple longer videos. But thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash the like button, subscribe, or whatever. And please stop watching the Mini Mighty Kids video. That video is really bad and it's at 900 views. It makes me really mad and I might have to redo the video now because people are still watching it. But thank you. And I will hopefully be back soon and not just upload 2 videos this year. Thank you for watching and have a good night. Peace.
I did it! I finished the video without quitting! I'm a YouTuber! Yeah! I'm a YouTuber!